we're in this moment in American history where our president of the United States went up in front of the nation and said that there were some good, fine people in this crowd of white supremacists, and that there were some bad people on the side of protesters who were against that worldview. And it became immediately obvious to almost everybody that this man is unhinged and maybe deranged, and a real conversation should probably have to happen about his mental state, except for Matt Bevins. Matt Bevins came right out and he agrees with Trump.
Agreed with him, specifically mentioned, as our president said, I believe is what he said, that all sides were guilty of the violence in Charlottesville. And, you know, I mean, this was the interesting thing is this comes at a time when in Kentucky, they're having a lot of conversations about Confederate monuments, and the white supremacist groups have openly talked about going to Lexington to rally because they're trying to remove statues. And, you know, I just think it's you know, Mitch McConnell came out and said, you know, I think his quote was, "There are no good Nazis."
Yeah.
And Mitch McConnell.
It's really easy to say that, guys.
Sure.
That's, I mean, like, I mean, look.
I don't think Mitch McConnell deserves a ton of credit for
Sure.
it. I mean, this is a guy who took pictures in front of, I mean, there's that famous picture of him in front of a Confederate flag.
A huge Confederate flag.
And eventually they're going to have, you know, the Republicans who are denouncing all of this are going to have to act. But I think the interesting thing with Bevin is this is not the first time he's echoed Trump. He did it. He's kind of taken the same tack toward the media as Trump. And he's, I think, positioned himself in a lot of ways to be sort of the Trump governor. They have a lot of the same approach to things, the fighting on Twitter, everything. And I think it was for Bevin to come out and say that all sides were to blame at a time when this debate is happening everywhere. I think is it's unfortunate. It's
unfortunate. I also certainly think it's tone deaf.
I think tone deaf is the thing. I mean, he said, you know,
but I also don't think tone deaf is strong enough, because that's like there are some people who thought that like Trump care was the right thing, and I think that was tone deaf. But I think this is like tone deaf and also like borderline dangerous.
Yes, I think that's the thing. Is, you know, I think if you actually read his comments, you know, he's pretty strong in saying that, you know, the Nazis and the Confederates and neo-Confederates, whatever you want to call them, were wielding hate.
Yeah.
The problem is then you can't equivocate. You can't say that the people who are out there specifically to combat Nazis and neo-Nazis and white supremacists are roughly equal or roughly as guilty.
Yeah.
Especially when, you know, we watched a video of a car driven by a white supremacist run over people and killed one person.
From Kentucky, right? He was from Kentucky.
I think, originally from Kentucky. You know, kills one person, injures 19. We see the videos of, you know, the 20-year-old black man getting beat by a crowd of white supremacists. Like, you know, it was pretty clear where the majority of the violence came from, or at least the worst of it.
The worst
and,
of it.
You know, and still, again, even to the point, these people are out here spreading ideas that need to be banished from our society, if not, you know, legally, because we have the First Amendment, we have free speech, and but they need to be. These are not ideas that are acceptable.
I think that the real danger here with Trump and Bevin is, and this is kind of dicey, right? Because I'm a big fan of the First Amendment, right? As I know you are too. But I think that there should be a level of discomfort for these white supremacists and white nationalists. If you want to protest and you want to go and you want to say these horrible things and you can get a crowd to do it, part of me thinks that you have that right to do that. But I also hope that it becomes very uncomfortable for you and that you have a hard time getting a crowd, and that you should be shamed for it. Well, not given a sort of like a little bit of wiggle room.
That's the main
or a lot
thing.
of wiggle room.
That's the main thing is I think, you know, every inch that you give these groups is a mile lost.
Yeah.
And that's the problem when it's one thing when it comes from the internet or wherever, but when it's a governor, when it's the president, to essentially open the door to, well, they might have a case on whether it's violence or anything. I mean, these are groups that are going to take that and run with it.